Debbie has this look on her face like, you're up to something again. Today we hear three different call stories from the Bible. The first is the call of Isaiah from the 6th chapter of Isaiah, the first 6 or 8 verses. In the year King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on the throne, high and lofty, and the hem of his robe filled the temple. Seraphs were in attendance above him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. The pivots of the threshold shook at the voices of those who called, and the house was filled with smoke. And I said, Woe is me, I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, I live among a people of unclean lips. Yet my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then one of the seraphs flew to me, holding a live coal that had been taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. The seraph touched my mouth with it and said, "Now that this has touched your lips, your guilt has departed, and your sin is blotted out." Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me." In 1 Corinthians 15, starting at the first chapter, "Now I would remind you, brothers and sisters, of the good news that I proclaimed to you, which you in turn received, and which also you stand, through which also you are being saved, if you hold firmly to the message that I proclaimed to you, unless you have come to believe in vain. For I handed on to you as of first importance what I in turn had received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the Scriptures, and that he appeared to Cephas, and then to the 12. Then he appeared to more than 500 brothers and sisters at one time, most of whom are still alive, though some have died. And then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles. Last of all, as to one untimely born, he appeared also to me. For I am the least of the apostles, unfit to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am, and his grace toward me has not been in vain. On the contrary, I worked harder than any of them, though it was not I, but the grace of God that is with me. Whether then it was I or they, so we proclaim, and so you have come to believe." In the 5th chapter of Luke comes this delightful story of Jesus calling his first disciples. This is the way Luke tells the story. Once, while Jesus was standing beside the lake of Gennesaret, and the crowd was pressing in on him to hear the word of God, he saw 2 boats there at the shore of the lake. The fishermen had gone out with them and were washing their nets. And he got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little way from the shore. Then Jesus sat down and taught the crowds from the boat. When Jesus had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep water and let down your nets for a catch." And Simon answered, "Master, we have worked all night long, but have caught nothing. Yet if you say so, I will let down the nets." And when they had done this, they caught so many fish their nets were beginning to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and to help them. And they came and filled both boats, so they began to sink. But when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Go away from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." For he and all who were with him were amazed at the catch of fish that they had taken. And so also were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on you will be catching people." When they brought their boats to the shore, they left everything and followed Jesus. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Okay, we have 2 chairs up here, and I need 2 really fun people to come up and help me. Alan, Pat, come on. Here you go. Right. All right, here's what I need you to do. Go ahead and sit down. I need you to pretend like you're 5.
That's easy. This is not a stretch.
And that you are at Bible school for the first time. Learning a new song. And when I say the word fishers, you're going to stand up and then sit down. And when I say men, you're going to stand up and then sit down.
Wait, just him?
Yeah.
Listen. Stop it.
Okay. And when I say follow, you're both going to stand up.
Wait, I'm fishers.
No, we're both fishers.
No, I'm...
You're fishers, you're men.
Oh,
Okay, I'm fishers, you're men.
Follow and then sit down on me. Okay, ready?
Okay.
I will, let's see, how we go. I will make you fishers of men. Sit down.
Oh, man.
Fishers of men, fishers of men. I will make you fishers of men if you follow me. If you follow me, if you follow me, I will make you fishers of men if you follow me.
There it is.
You get chocolate later. All right, you may have your seats. Anybody here remember that song from Bible school? Not very many, really. A few, but not a whole lot. All right. Very good. That is the song that comes from this text in Luke. Right? At the end, Jesus says, "You will fish for people." Now, let's not get caught up in the words. Because if my grandmother were here, she would say, well, we all know men means people, so why can't we just say men? Anthropos is the word in the Greek, people. Take a breath, it's fine. Right? This is a great story. Jesus has already met Simon Peter. He meets him about 4 verses before this happens, because Jesus has gone to Simon's house and healed Simon's mother-in-law. So they've already met. They already know each other. Simon has already heard Jesus teaching. He's seen Jesus' miracles. Remember that miracle, folks? Women, remember that particularly? Jesus heals Simon Peter's mother-in-law, and she gets up and goes and serves all the men. Anyway. So Jesus now is teaching on the seashore, and there are so many people listening to him, and he has become so popular that the crowd is crushing him. And so he gets in Simon's boat, and he asks Simon to pull the boat out a little bit into the water. So that will keep the crowd at bay far enough that they won't crush him anymore, but that he will still be able to preach and teach to them. And there's this interesting piece. You've got to pick up on the really subtle details of this text, or you miss something very, very important. Because what it says is, after Jesus gets in the boat and Simon puts it out, that the fishermen, are not in the boats, and they are washing their nets. It's important, because you don't wash your nets while you're in the midst of fishing. You wash your nets after a hard night's work of fishing, once you've come back in, so that the nets will be clean the next time you go out to cast. They have been working all night, and fishing with nets in small boats is back-breaking work. These men are exhausted. Exhausted. And Jesus still says to them, let's go out and try again. I mean, can you imagine? They have been working all night to catch. They have found nothing, caught nothing. Nothing has come of their hard labor. And Jesus says, come on, fellas, we can do it all over. And even Simon Peter, who knows how glorious Jesus is, looks at him and says, teacher, we've worked hard all night long, really. You know, we got this. We're fishermen. You're a carpenter, really. You're preaching good right now, but you're really a carpenter. And we know how to fish. And there ain't no fish out there, because we've been out all night working hard. And he says, teacher, we've worked all night long, but have caught nothing. Yet if you say so, we'll let the nets down. So here's the first lesson, right? Even if we don't want to, we still need to follow the call of Jesus. Okay? It is invariably true every time I go on behalf of the Presbyterian to visit a church, especially one in trouble, I will say to them, well, what have you tried to do to grow your church? And to a congregation, they all say, well, we've tried everything there is to do and nothing works. Oh, everything there possibly is to do to grow the church you've tried? Yep, we've tried everything. Oh, well, what have you tried? Well, let's think about that for a minute. Usually there's a long pause because they have to try to come up with whatever that everything was, right? And then they say things like, well, we sent out postcards one time, or we let the scouts use our building, or, you know, we tried this after school thing, but this is a true story. No lie. One of the differences between the haves and the have-nots in school, when they're in elementary school, is the haves get haircuts. Have I told this story? And the have-nots don't. And so one of the people that I know set up the possibility to have barbers come in and give haircuts to kids before school started, before the start of school in the fall. And the church didn't want to do it because they were afraid they'd bring lice into the church, and it cost them $2,000 to get the exterminator to come in and get rid of the lice. Well, finally, the pastor convinced them to go ahead, but then they made somebody stand at the door and only allow 3 people in at a time for fear they might steal from the church. This is a church that told me they had done everything they possibly could to welcome people from the community into their doors. Right? These are people who don't want to welcome people in. And there is something like that in us, right? Like, I like you because you're like me. Actually, I really like Steve because he's like me. Debbie's husband and I might be the same person in a different life. We like people like us, and people that are different than us make us a little uncomfortable sometimes. But here's the thing, the call of Jesus to catch people, even if it makes us uncomfortable, is still our call. If it's hard, it's still our call. If we don't quite know how to do it, it's still our call. Jesus here and Simon have this beautiful exchange where Simon goes, man, we are tired. We have been fishing all night. There's nothing in those seas. Stop bugging us. And yet he does it anyway because he knows what he's called to do. And look what the results are. When Simon is faithful to what God says, what Jesus says, he is blessed beyond measure. Their boats are so full that they have to call for more boats. Now, this is unheard of. Like, usually if they got a net full of fish, that would be a great catch for a day. They didn't have a net full. They had boats and boats and boats full. They did something they didn't want to do. They weren't sure how to do. And yet, just simply out of the fact that they were obedient, God blesses them with this abundant catch, with this marvelous thing, right? And here's what happens. When Simon Peter sees that, remember, Simon Peter's already met Jesus. He's already heard his teaching. He's already seen Jesus do a miracle. And yet when Simon sees what Jesus has done, he is so awe-stricken by the holiness of God before him that he falls on his knees and says, "My Lord, my God, I am a sinful man. Go away from me." It is the same reaction to the holy that Isaiah has in the temple. I can't believe my eyes. God is so good, so great, so holy, so amazing. All I can do is fall on my knees and worship. See, even if we don't want to, if we are faithful and obey God's call, it changes our lives forever. And then, of course, don't miss this little detail either. In the last, because Jesus says, "Simon, you're going to catch people now. You've caught all these fish. You didn't want to, but you've caught all these fish. You've seen the miracle. It's changed your life. Now, out of gratitude, you're going to go out into the world and catch people. Tell them what I've done. Tell them what you've seen. Tell them how your life has been changed." And they brought their boats to the shore and left everything and followed him. Don't miss this. The catch of fish that they are leaving is not just a net full, not just a boat full. They had to call partners' boats in to fill them up with the catch because it was so great. They have never, ever seen a catch like this in their lives. It would have been enough to sustain them financially for years, maybe decades. And they left everything to follow. To catch people. To catch people. They were willing to leave everything because their relationship with Jesus had been so life-transforming that all they want to do is share it with other people. You know, my great fear as a pastor in a mainline church is that one of the reasons that we don't share the gospel, we don't tell people about what God is doing in our lives, and one of the reasons that we don't tell people about our own congregations is because nothing's happening in our own spiritual lives. That is my greatest fear as a spiritual leader. It is my fear, but it is not how I believe that we live. I think that we all have experiences with Jesus that we could share to catch people. Remember, beloved, the what do you call that thing? The slide on the screen, is it a meme? What's a meme? Okay, I don't know what that means, but okay, good. Thank you for your help. The slide on the screen that's up here that says, how do people get to church for the first time? 86% come through personal invitation. Now, you have to couple that statistic with the fact that most people need to have a touch, an exposure, a something from a congregation. There it is. Thank you, Keith. 7 times before they want to walk in the door. So even if you may not want to, you may have to go to a person and say, hey, why don't you come with me? 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 Oh, great, you're coming with me. 86% of the time, that's how we're going to catch people. And let me assure you that when you engage in following this calling that Jesus has offered us, it will change your life forever. Beyond measure, you will be blessed. Thanks be to God. Amen.